So, will that be taken away once again? But the first ban has come out by Team Property. Now be LeBlanc, definitely fearing that from the mid lane, followed by Ziggs from the team of Reason Gaming, followed by Quick Caston and a Quick Kale.
Yeah, and everything so far has been mid lane right now. Just taking everything away from the mid laners here. Nyx for the side of Property going up against, we saw Take Fun on Cassidin earlier against Ultimate, really put them back into the game. A couple of players that may be somewhat familiar to a few people on Property, primarily in Shaka. Those of you that followed Season 3, he was the jungler that was brought in actually in EU LCS in place of Snoopy for a couple of weeks, a couple of games, couple of weeks for EU LCS for Evil Geniuses. So I wonder what kind of position he's at right now. He's playing jungle. What kind of level are we going to see? The last band's out, Lee Sin and Jax. Nothing surprising there, but Braum is available. Lucian is available. A lot actually still available to pick.
Yeah, he's definitely not a new face, that being Shaka, but we don't know where his level lies currently, I think, is what we have to see from the next couple of games. But Lee Sin, Jax, the last two bans, and the first pick may well be Morgana, and kind of one of the top supports at the moment, a kind of trifecta of bot lane supports, but instead they swap up to Evelyn, and they will solidify that pick. However, Braum has not been banned out, and they are flirting with the idea.
Yeah, they're probably more than flirting with it at this point. I feel like Kikis or Kuban are going to lock that one in. Taking Evelyn away, they were hovering over Morgana. I was thinking that is not exactly the... there you go, Shaka on your screen. Always a fun-loving person, Shaka. If you've ever had a conversation with him, always puts a smile on your face, to be honest. But Braum is likely to get locked in. That is a certainty. I would not be surprised to see Lucian alongside it. Just because of how their synergy goes. Of course, the passives work pretty much hand in hand. Braum hits, the Winter's Bite. Lucian follows up with a double tap from his passive, and lo and behold, you're pretty close to a stun there. You pretty much get that almost 100% of the time. Yeah,
one more auto attack and concussive blows will proc, and hey, there it is. Lucian and Braum, if you can take it, then go for it. And most of the time we either see Braum first picked and then taking away the Lucian from the matchup, but this time both of them locked in the same pick. So clearly a very strong lane at the bottom so far from Reason Gaming. And now looking towards the next two picks from Team Property. Hovering over Shaco is something we haven't seen in competitive play since before my time, which is a very long time ago.
Yeah, we won't see it either. Shaka's having a bit of fun. Hovered over Warwick to begin with, who, has been played, but, when he goes from Warwick to Shaco and Eve's already picked, I was thinking it's far more likely to be the Morgana. They kind of showed that hand a little bit when they hovered Morgana. What that said was, maybe we'll try and deter you from picking Braum by picking something we feel is good against it. However, it didn't deter them at all, so Morgana has been picked up in response alongside the Lulu. And we know that Take Fun likes to play Orianna. He's a pretty strong Orianna player. Alternate banded out against him in the previous game, so wouldn't be too surprised to see that.
Orianna feels like a very neutral pick, It doesn't necessarily go out to kill the opponent, but it also means that you probably will die in the mid lane as well. You can farm from range, you've got that long range ability with the ball basically being for you in lane, getting you that farm. And then for the team fight, it's all about the shockwave, and looks like it was the Irelia picked alongside that for Reason Gaming, and now looking for the last two picks to finish up the lineup from Team Property. They are looking at the Trundle, see if they decide that that's what they want to roll with in the top lane. We have seen Lulu in the top lane as well, so everything is still on the cards.
The other player I was going to bring up about that people may have seen, Vardags did play for Unicorns of Love for a while. He is here as part of Property, so we'll see how that situation kind of works itself out. But here, we'll see what he's going to end up picking up. Could pick that Trundle for the top lane up for Doris, but I'm kind of expecting the last remaining ban on Reason to just be Elise. Lee Sin's banned, Eve's been picked, Elise is probably going to fulfill that last role unless we're going to have something special. Jarvan's the other option, actually, with Orianna locked in for that ball delivery system. But Trundle gets locked in. We're seeing Caitlyn for their second time after having somewhat of a hiatus from the top tier AD carry list. But I wonder, against Braum, they have a good range here with Morgana Caitlyn. And Braum is melee range, wants to get those stacks up. So I would not be surprised to see this lane actually do fairly well against the Braum matchup.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that unfolds in the bot lane. Vi is also an option if they wanted to go for that, for the ball delivery system, as you mentioned. They're currently sitting on Gragas. Gragas, after the change, has not seen all that much play. Has definitely changed his kit, so he's not just a destroy two people in a split second with that combo, but definitely brings different utility and different abilities to his team. So they're still sitting on that one, still mulling over the idea, but they still have 10 seconds to go to finalize that last pickup. So 5 seconds, the clock is ticking, and it may well be the Gragas at this stage. They're just not looking to move away from it, and the Gragas has been locked in. Okay. So where is everyone going to go? You would guess it would be Gragas jungle.
Yeah, I mean, we used to see Gragas jungle a fair amount in Europe at the Challenger level. A lot more so in solo queue than in competitive games. Although we did enjoy a stint in the competitive scene, in the Challenger scene. So, I mean, they do have somewhat soft ball delivery system here if you body slam in with Gragas. You just have to make sure that you coordinate your shockwave and your explosive cast at different times. That sounds really weird that, you know, a team fight has to be set one after the other. No Ahri in this game, unfortunately. In the crowd, but not in the game. But, yeah, you got to kind of time those right, because if you explosive cast before the shockwave goes off, you've wasted a shockwave.
Yeah, there's a couple of funny combinations where it's you have to stack them one after the other, but in the right order. Whereas that's actually more difficult because it has to be that one person initiating compared to just straight up AoE ultimates which you can layer on top of each other. So it's a different type of playstyle. It's something that will require these teams to be on point with their coordination.
Yeah, the other thing it'll offer is good pick potential as well. Is you know, if you can find somebody on their own, explosive cast them forward towards you, and you know, from there you can kind of mitigate a lot of the range that Caitlyn has in this kind of setup and pull her towards the team, push her towards your team as it is. So it's an interesting lineup on the side of Reason Gaming. I feel like I've seen them play Gragas jungle before as well. I feel like I've casted it, so it's been done. Not since the changes, though. Yeah,
it's not new. Yeah, since the changes, that's the other big thing, and it may work out. I think I've seen it a couple times since the rework, but this will be the first time I've seen it on like a competitive stage, as it were, Stress. But it's saying more of like a solo queue pick. But we did see the Kale jungle the other day as well, and that was more of a solo queue pick. So it can definitely work. We saw that go to late game and just wreck face. So we'll see the same thing with Gragas.
Yeah, we'll have to watch as that continues. As everybody's pretty hype here at DreamHack. I mean, there's a lot of things going on all around. I don't know whether you can hear the commotion that's going off just off screen. There's everybody's going nuts.
Commotion is the right word.
Yeah,
hubbub.
We also had a lot of that earlier when we had NIP playing. Everyone was going crazy, and I expect we'll see that again. NIP versus Property is going to be our last game of the day. That's going to be between two Swedish organizations, so that should be really a fun one to watch out for. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Property have got to offer for us here, because we've seen a lot of teams picking Thresh against Braum. This time it's going to be a Morgana, which is a very different playstyle.
It is indeed, and we'll see if he can land the Dark Binding. Braum will want to try and get in range, try and land the Winter's Bite so you can get that double tap passive, the passive synergy. And he should be able to do something about that in the bot lane. Morgana definitely more of a defensive support. You put the Black Shield on, and it's fairly scripted when you see the concussive blow stacks as well. It's like, oh, a big timer on top of you, and then Black Shield completely mitigated, and then it means all that power, all that strength that Braum has in lane is out the window.
Yeah, I think we're just about ready soon to get into game, but you know, it is EUS that we're on, so we are having the delay period, unfortunately. I've been told that tomorrow I think we're going to be on Tournament Realm for that, so luckily they're both on the same patch, so it doesn't really matter.
They are.
Because we are playing on live patch here for DreamHack Summit 2014, so everything you guys are playing, you know, at home or even at DreamHack, if you guys are playing League of Legends. Seen a lot of people playing League throughout the BYOZ halls, but we are on the live client, we are on the live patch, and I believe we're going to get ready to go into the game fairly shortly.
Yeah, the fact that you can see more of our faces means that we are probably pretty close to getting into game, Stress. So what are we expecting from this one? We haven't seen anything of Team Property. We mentioned Vardags as well from Unicorns of Love is in the mix. So maybe a newer addition because they went through the BYOC tournament. So maybe not a well-oiled machine, as Messers would put it, but definitely strong individually to have gone all the way to the finals and beyond.
Well, what I'm somewhat expecting is probably a pause by the fact that we appeared back on the screen again. But, well, we never know. As you can see, Property going up against Reason Gaming. And this should be an interesting one, as you said. First time we'll see Property. You brought the question up about Vardags, has recently kind of joined the roster. And he had a good amount of success with Unicorns of Love, you know, competing pretty well in that bottom lane. But, you know, different support, different play style. We'll see how that kind of works out.
Yeah, I mean, Vardags is, of course, part of Unicorns of Love, which you may know, you may not, but it doesn't matter anyway because we're into game, 10 seconds in, and Team Property will be coming out of the blue corner, Reason Gaming in the red, and we'll see how these guys go toe-to-toe and face up against each other. Like Ragger's jungle will be one to watch, as that just actually opted to go back to base. I believe he's forgotten to buy items.
Great start.
There we go, there's the machete
potions.
he picked up. He bought potions, that's all I need for jungle clear, don't worry about it. But
all
he's
he
got
needs
the
is a
machete.
good drink. That's something that we've learned. Shaka will
Indeed.
find Take Fun, but I think that's probably going to spell the end of it.
Couple love taps, and he will back off to his jungle. And it's early enough in the game where they can just go back to base and regenerate their life totals and make sure they are fully healthy for their interactions in their respective lanes.
You too will be judged.
Vardags in the bot lane. Some emote spam from these guys. Nothing really in the face of their opponents, and they're going to have a more of a chill start to this game. Very different to what we saw in the very first game of the tournament, in fact, on day one, where it was just all-out action and 3 kills in 1 minute 20.
Yeah, that was pretty insane. Not expecting that from too many of these games. Although I wonder whether we'll see out of Reason what we saw out of NIP with a very similar combo here. That Livik and Makler would push forward into this bottom bush and then instantly take control of the lane. That was what we saw with NIP doing that in the bottom lane, but we'll see whether Makler and Livik can echo, freeze, and Voidal.
It's funny because you don't necessarily see this all the time, and it's something that people laugh at and say, oh, it's what you do when you're level 10 and leveling up in the game and you just sit in the bush and wait for your opponents to arrive. But you catch someone off guard with something that doesn't happen every day, and you may just find yourselves a kill, especially early into the game when Morgana may not have skilled Black Shield. However, Makler just gives up the game and decides to carry on farming. So, not going to be the case this time.
Yeah, I feel like they may actually have been able to exploit that then, that Vardags was just kind of walking in, but nevertheless, they are pretty content to follow it up now, because look, already 3 stacks onto Flumis there, and couldn't really get the last one. They didn't actually get that double shot from Makler there, but, you know, he doesn't want to burn through his mana too quickly, I would imagine.
It's actually funny because Makler and Livik kind of came out behind in that trade because Makler wanted the last shot desperately onto Flumis, and Varda was like, okay, I guess I'll just keep shooting you as you head towards my support who's running away. So that can be something that's kind of distracting for AD carries as well. You see that time, you see it on 3 out of 4 stacks, and you're like, I can get it. And unfortunately didn't.
Yeah, Makler and Livik hit level 2 just a teeny bit ahead of the Property bot lane, but they managed to level up pretty quickly after, so no chance of that level 2 engage that we see fairly commonly. And there's that big disparity, but junglers have made their way towards the lower side of the map. Shaka making the difference here, though, is going to be in the bottom side push here in the lane. Now, if a Dark Binding lands,
which it does, onto Lucian, and the pull ticks down, at least increasing Flumis' goal total, but doesn't mean that they can go for the kill, go for the gank. And Shaka just wanders on out, and Livik didn't even say hi.
Ooh, a lot of damage down onto Vardags there, but again, they're trading well back on towards the Reason Gaming lineup. Is Property starting out pretty strong here.
Indeed, and Caitlyn again, Caitlyn-Lucian matchup. We saw this last time round. We were saying Caitlyn is not always the pick you see every day. Saw that from Sunny. And Livik just blocking up the Piltover, blocking up the damage, but maybe taking more than he really wanted to. And yes, is his defensive support, but this duo matchup, the Morgana and the Caitlyn, doing work.
Up in the top lane, Kikis is looking for a gank.
He's going for the gank. Kickers has that double, lands the first auto attack and also the barrel, the flash forwards. They should be able to secure the kill. They get the first blood onto Kuban.
Good gank out of Kikis, waited for the body slam to be one of the last little bits of that combo, got the slow, got the damage, allowed them to pick up the kill, gets the assist for himself and will help them shove into the turret. That is a good start for this Gragas jungle. We were questioning exactly what strengths is it going to have. Seemingly, when you set up the top lane like that, it's pretty good at picking up first blood.
Yeah, that was a textbook gank, honestly, at the top lane. Just came in behind, and there was nowhere for Doris to run. And he did teleport back in. Most of these top lanes will be running teleport nowadays, especially in a composition like this. And he'll be back to farming. So it's not going to be too unhappy, but that one extra kill onto Kuban will go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of top laners, Fnatic Soaz always tweets out about, you know, top laners and teleport. Hoping that one day they won't be forced to take teleport. But
I want my one-on-ones.
Yeah, Soaz wants his one-on-ones in lane. But, you know, we're kind of stuck with this teleport meta for now. It is such a strong summoner spell. It gives you so much global presence that really without it, it is very, very difficult. A lot of players will say if you don't have teleport, you can end up losing a lot of buffs and a lot of objectives early on in the game.
Indeed. So in the mid lane, we haven't even touched on this, haven't given them much love in this game. Both gone for the Doran's ring setup just to start off the game, but fairly neutral lane. Lulu doesn't really look to actively kill the opponent, but is definitely a lane bully. And then Orianna doesn't really die.
Yeah, and you know, only really kills if she gets that shockwave.
Yeah.
So they're pretty similar. They're just those consistent mid laners that, you know, they're going to get kills every now and again. However, Libic is going to jump in.
And Braum is here. Libic is jumping forward. Kikis is here for the gank. Takes a swig of his barrel. And Flumis jumps out with the flash. So at least they burn the summoner. But Libic was very close to dying himself. So still 1-0. No more kills.
No more kills. Kikis is a little bit away from 6, so he could have leached experience, but it would have taken a while, to be honest. So good call on him to back away from this, but really there was just no follow-up from Reason. They were too low, didn't want to follow up. The damage they did have had kind of already been used, and they don't really want to push in with Makla flashing up red anyway.
Absolutely. So has gone back to base, has picked up a couple of the consumables, got the biscuit coming in, and also a vision ward to kind of deal with the Shaka effect on Evelyn, who will just be forcing everyone to buy a couple more pink wards, maybe a little bit earlier than they may have liked. That would be something that would be happening.
Interesting, we've seen Property come in with this strategy, and as I say, that Makla drops low.
The Piltover comes through, but he will be getting away. Vardax takes a tower shot for the privilege, but no kills just yet here, Stress.
Yeah, and it's what I was going to say is it's interesting that they've come in with this strategy to go against the Lucian Braum lane. They said, we'll give you that because we know that Caitlyn Morgana in the laning phase is going to be really strong. And you look at it, 58 CS to 38. It is very rare that you see a Lucian bullied around, but Property have been shoving Libic and Makla all the way back to the turret constantly.
I think it's also good to mention that Targons is something that Libic decided to pick up. So you also have to add the 8 CS on there, but that's still a 10 CS disparity, which is still huge, and Kikis goes for round 2 in the top lane. Kuban is just dealing the damage. Doris is not getting away. Another kill to Kuban.
Again, I kind of feel like Doris is a little shoved up there. Didn't have flash. They hadn't read the situation, and there was actually a ward in the top side, and I'm sure I saw Kikis cross it earlier on. Maybe I'm mistaken on that one. Maybe he actually could have body slammed over the back of the Dragon Pit if he was smart about it, but I mean, he should have really been expecting that.
Yeah, but it was not the case, and that's another kill going to Irelia. Pretty much perfect scenario. You couldn't hope for a better start on a champion like Irelia. The kind of ticking time bomb in the top lane, a lot like Jax, a lot like Nasus, who eventually will get to that stage where you just start melting faces, and there's very little you can do about it. It's just the only argument is, well, it's a late game Irelia. I guess there's not much we can do from this point.
That was interesting. So I thought Reason was setting up for Dragon here because Irelia teleported to the turret and they shoved in bot. As in, Irelia teleported to mid turret, and I didn't see why. Nothing on the map really stood out to me of why you wouldn't teleport top.
And I didn't see any of the interactions as well between the champions, I
mean, I trying to think of maybe benefits of that. There was no vision of the tower, so maybe...
Top lane though, Kuban, he did walk up there again. There's the subjugate getting all that HP back, and now he's on the offensive. They actually end that trade going fairly even, but Doris is now ahead in the life total.
I mean, this is probably one of these things where I'm missing something super obvious, but the other option, as Kuban does go aggressive again, is if they didn't have vision of the middle tower and didn't want to show that they had used teleport, then maybe that was the reason, but that seems like a really roundabout way of getting back to lane. Like, again, it's probably something super obvious that I'm missing. Chat are going to be screaming at me about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what Twitch chat is there for.
It's okay. Like, I figured they were going to take Dragon, but at that point, like, why wouldn't you just teleport into the Dragon fight again? Yeah,
probably missing something.
We are probably missing something, but what we're not missing is a big lead in that bottom lane. As you said, it is Targon, so there, you do have to look at that disparity between the two, but there is certainly a lot of pressure being applied onto Libic and Makler right now. Let's actually check gold between the two. Yeah, it is about a 400 gold disparity between the two.
And that's with some jungler interaction, but let's take a look at top lane again. Kuban, the damage is wailing away, and Chaka comes for the counter gank as Kikis comes across, and they kind of fizzle out the engagement as both the junglers show their faces.
Indeed. This is not a good top situation for Doris. He's died twice. Has managed to keep himself up in farm. That is one positive here for Property is, Trundle has been getting gold, but getting Kuban to 2-0 is really going to help Reason here as they continue on in this game. Doris takes another barrel roll. They've got to be careful. Bottom turret has gone down. Explosive cast top.
And they go for the engage. They pick up one. Can they do even more onto Shaka? He will be flashing forwards onto Kuban. There's no way he can fight this out. Last haste spike gets the shutdown. And we'll go 1-3 total in the game.
It does indeed, but it might not be over because Nyx is hunting Kikis down here. He's going to get slowed up.
Oh.
Won't be able to get it.
Over the wall. He is made of a flubber-like material, which allows him to walk through trees.
Now, interestingly enough, that was a shutdown that they got from Irelia, so the actual gold difference went in favor of Property from that exchange, so they'll be pretty happy about that.
Yeah, it was a very ballsy dive, but they just kind of were a bit overzealous. And I think when you have a 2-0 Irelia, you can see how that mistake could be made. Now the aggression is into the jungle, and this is a very long chase, but Kikis is still cut out. They knew he was low for the last engagement, and that trip up means he will have to burn the flash, the long cooldown summoner, and they may just convert this into Dragon as well, knowing that the smite is just away from the battle.
Yep, no smite going to be available. Teleport is back up for Kuban, but he's already hot-footing it down to the Dragon. Glacial Fizzle won't hit anybody.
It will, however, split up the fight. However, there is no fight currently. What the culling may be opening it up. Libic uses Stand Behind Me to get to his ally, and will be potting on the Unbreakable, but the first kill goes down. Kuban finds the second. The Dragon did, however, go down to Evelyn, but this is a heavy price to pay if they lose anyone else. And that was 2 kills for the Dragon, essentially, at the end of the day.
2 kills that all went on to Kuban, and you'd have to think that the Glacial Fissure not hitting at the beginning of that fight should have spelled the end, but Reason Gaming had a lot of damage there. Irelia was there in the fight, picks up another 2 kills, has now finished the Trinity Force, and that's a pretty early Trinity Force as well now, when you consider 5-1-0 is Kuban in this game.
Yeah, his scoreline actually reflects the scoreline for the entire game, 5-1. All those kills stacked on him currently. Trinity Force at 13 minutes. That is an insane power spike, especially when you consider Trinity Force is one of the most, if not the most expensive item in the game. And only from here, could go for another damage item, might just go for a defensive item, go for a Zephyr perhaps, but it doesn't matter. He's got his core down.
Yeah, core is built, and that Triforce, when you compare it to the Bilgewater Cutlass and a dagger with double Dorans on Trundle, means Trundle is going to have a horrible time in this lane. There's not going to be a lot of ways that he can sit here and trade against Irelia. He's having difficulty already, but now that that's a completed item, we're actually going to see the fight.
And Kuban, 1 versus 2, decides to back off, gets the Transcendent Blades to get the HP back, uses the Blade Surge, and just kiting around, wasting time, so Kickers can arrive and potentially turn this into a 2v2, and maybe a good situation. The Explosive Cast comes back, Kuban gets yet another kill.
Really nice Explosive Cast. It looked like Property had lined up, or at least readjusted, so that they could really put down a lot of damage from Shaka, who is in trouble once again.
Gets slowed down by Kickers, but Lulu is there to assist. And is now sort of cutting off Kubon. He jumps in, gets the Wild Growth. Kickers is also there to supply some damage, and the Ignite will get the shutdown. Finally, Kickers doing some more damage, but TakeFun is now here to back them up. Gets the Shockwave, and should eventually be able to take down and nail the target of Lulu.
Kikis gets the kill from that one and will likely pick up the tower. No, he's going to run out of a minion wave, so he needs to push that one through as well. But bottom lane, they're pushing as well. Makler and Libic looking to get damage on the turret, but these fights are just all going Reason's way right now. They've dropped very few kills, only really the one, although again, it was a shutdown on Irelia, who is now 6-2, so good position for Reason to be in.
It's interesting because that's the second shutdown they've gotten on the same player 15 minutes into the game, which is, again, kind of a rare occurrence, but Kubon has just been playing it immaculately so far. And in the top lane just before, when he was just kiting around waiting for his ally to get in range. Loomis and Vardag, since the very start of the game, we really haven't seen too much interaction, and now that you add 26 CS onto Lucian, he's actually starting to bring it back into his favor.
Yeah, it is. It's starting to turn back in the way of Reason. But again, he's being held down so much by the fact that the rest of his team are doing well as well. Look at it, 27 CS on to Libic right now. That's a lot of gold going over towards Reason AD carry. And I need to get away from Morgana because that is the most petrifying sound. That recall animation is horrifying. But
the Wild Growth, he will be using that. An explosive cast actually just bumps into safety. Thanks, bro. I'll take that.
Just puts him into his own turret. But I thought Nyx was a little bit caught out there. But helped out by Kickers.
Yeah, good guy, Kickers. Rory's got your back. Yeah, well, that's not really helping, but they will help the team of Reason Gaming. We always say, Reason Gaming, because they used to be Loveland Shore.
So difficult, man.
It is, because we look at these names, and you may recognize them from MYM, and they were the same team for a long time, so you just associate the names with MYM. It's like, oh, Reason.
It also doesn't help that TakeFun has his old tag on as well.
Yeah, because we are currently on live servers, it's like, oh, well.
They made it so you can get a name change with IP now.
Yeah.
Just holding on to the
And they must have so much IP, because when you get to the stage, you've played the game long enough, you usually have enough.
There's a big set of Reason players heading down to the bottom lane.
There's a big reason to run.
Oh, I see what you did there.
It was sort of not intentional, and I made it intentional.
Yeah, it was intentional. Property, however, are going to answer that with a mid lane turret of their own. All 5 members are stacked in the bottom lane. Unless they get the inner here, they're going to lose 2 for 1 overall, and they're recalling. So overall, Property get the better deal.
Very indecisive. Makler and Libic are still pushing, but everyone has just turned tails and run, and they've just left them in no man's land. This is just a bad situation waiting to happen. They split up, try and divide and conquer, and maybe one of them will get out alive, but this is not looking good. Oh, Makler jumps over the wall. Maybe not the horror story we were maybe thinking this was going to be, and he's still getting chunked down. Libic is there with his ally once again. Can he block them off? He will be jumping behind. Shaka needs one more auto attack, but Makler is still alive and kicking. Nyx is there. Finally, he will fall and bite the dust, and Libic and the rest of the team may be able to mop up. They get the explosive cast. They knock everyone against the wall. They find one. Doris is now under attack. Gets dragged back in with the shockwave. Concussive blows. Needs a couple more auto attacks to make him stay in place and stay on the floor.
Oh, Property chase too far on that one. Makler was already away. And oh my goodness, that should have been kill either onto Makler or Libic, but it just turns out in favor of Reason once again as the cavalry showed up. Pretty much selfless play by Libic there. Used the Glacial Fissure to knock up and save Makler there, and jumps in to block a lot of the damage. Couldn't end up saving him, but he did enough.
Yeah, they kind of smelled blood and just went into a frenzy, and that was ultimately their downfall. Like, we saw it from a spectator view where we could see everything. It's just like, there is no way that Lucian is getting out of this, but just his team was in the right place, and we just assumed it was a misstep, but apparently not. It was all mind games at the end of the day from Reason Gaming.
And Reason have, a good lead right now. About 4,000 gold is the lead. and it puts them in a good spot. Taking a look at the items, really there's a bit of a disparity up in that top lane would be an understatement. Trinity Force and a nearly completed Randuin's Omen alongside that. Let's take a look at the gold on Irelia. Yeah, 170 gold off that Randuin's being finished, which would put her onto 2 items, whereas not even completed boots on Trundle. Difficult situation to be in because we know what Irelia is like. In the late game, once she's got the itemization, it's a really difficult champion to deal with.
It is indeed, but let's take stock. So you mentioned it's like a 4K advantage, which is a respectable lead, but it's not game-ending at this stage, 20 minutes in. With most of the gold also being on Irelia, who is getting tanky, but is still able to be focused down, and then you're removing 7 kills essentially from that team in the fight. 3-3 towers, all of the outer turrets going down, so both these teams have more room to maneuver, but no real map advantage handed to one or the other. And Doris just has to take some time to farm, man. Like, he's 0 and 5. He's never really offered too much to fight, so he just needs some time to recuperate from that laning phase.
Yeah, just needs to buy a bit of time, which is, you know, I have a feeling Reason aren't going to give them the time. They were given the time against Alternate to come back into the game, and Alternate were punished for it. So I think Reason will have it fresh in their minds that they do not want to wait this one out too long here, as Property could end up coming back into this. We mentioned gold lead, not so significant that this is a done deal. More like it was a done deal in the last game, but Alternate just couldn't close it. So we've seen stranger things than to come back here. Reason just need to play this by the books.
They do, and even in the first game that we saw, that was a team holding on for a long time, even being so far behind. In fact, I remember it was like by 20 minutes, a Nexus turret had fallen, and they still held on for a long time. Libic will be taking up the binding, but quite tanky, even at 21 minutes into the game, where they don't want to be initiating onto the full-on tank. We'll get the Winter's Bite, and that'll be hitting Flumus. Posturing very aggressively, and they all get hit by the Glitter Lance, which takes them down just a little way. Take Fun by himself, kind of the straggler of the group, but just farming from long range, keeping them at bay, and a nice movement to the mid lane will probably just net this tower for free. Libic takes another binding. This could be a team fight erupting. Libic will be dropping. The tower is still not even down. Kickers will get the body slam and knock him sideways, but will take an ace in the hole and will regenerate some HP. That was a 1-0, a no tower.
Yeah, Reason were repelled from that. That's you know, Property holding on there. Again, Orianna, I hate, not Orianna, Morgana. That recall sends shivers down my spine.
The cool skin, but very scary at the same time.
It's the only Morgana skin I've got as well, so it's depressing whenever I have to play Morgana support, because you know you have to use the skin.
Yeah,
you can't not use the skin.
If you pull it, you've got to go for it.
It just means I'm subject to, you know, when you're like shopping or somewhere else on the map while recalling, and you die, you're like, oh, how did that happen? I'm like trying to avoid the recalls.
Well, I'm looking at somewhere else in the map, and I'm hearing your sound, and I'm like, where's that coming from? Because I can't even see Ghost Bride Morgana.
If I knew that, I would troll you so much more with that.
Well, you do now, so
I do
that was
now.
Probably a mistake.
Sorry, stream, you're always getting Ghost Blade Morgana's recall noise.
Lovely.
Oh dear.
But the pace of the game has definitely slowed down here, Stress.
It has, and that could be potentially dangerous for Reason. We touched on it. The previous game slowed down Reason, were able to stall out Alternate. And if Reason gets stalled out here, that could be a bit of a problem, because they haven't really taken any main objectives as such. They've taken dragons, they've taken outer towers. They're kind of a little bit softer objectives. They're objectives that will naturally fall in the flow of a game anyway. Whereas you look at inner towers, you look at inhibitor towers and
but
barons.
in the bot lane though, Take Fun does get the shockwave and the culling comes across. You can't dupe that one when you're at point blank range. And who will get taken down? Libic zones them away, that being from Vardags, but moving back to bot lane, there'll be the smart flash, the quick flash. That means that Kickers' ultimate will be thrown back to safety rather than harm.
Here we go. They've found the pick. They're going to push on towards the first inner tower of the game, falling in favor of Reason. Kind of expected that one. Now they're going to rotate out towards the middle lane and try and cut off Property. Take Fun, taking a little bit of an aggressive route in there. Nearly got caught out by a binding, but that's a second. And quickly Reason will re-stamp their authority on this game.
I was going to say their stranglehold over this game had been diminished, but They're looking pretty good right now, and Doris, that is not the way you want to be going at all. Gets locked down, the concussive blows, he is not going anywhere. Oh, gets the flash over the wall, they get the vision, and will be using Subjugate to stay alive. Man, that was too close for comfort.
Is it enough to open up the turret, though? We'll have to see how fast they can actually push. I don't know whether Maus are actually going to want to... Done it again. I was reading Take Fun's name. I don't know whether they're going to want to fight this, but they do.
Mistakes were made by Lulu this time. Gets the extra HP from the ultimate. In fact, didn't even use the wild growth. I was looking and that's like, that's a medium-sized Lulu, but that is more like a dead Vardags. And Makler is still following up the dance, but he's tanking the turret. Shaka has to back off, but he does get a great Agony's Embrace. Livic is blocking up all the damage. Another good shockwave onto one, secures the kill, gets the tower, and they all carry on sieging. Yeah,
Reason they're going to push this in towards the tower. They're going to run out of a minion wave, though, so they have to be careful. Livic isn't really high enough health to tank this one up, so back to the fountain they go. Doris doesn't want to chase. I was going to say he could chase, but to be honest, that would be more to prevent any kind of warding, prevent any kind of map control over Baron that Reason would try and secure. But Reason, how much gold are they carrying? About 2,000 on Makler, 1,000 elsewhere on their team. So yeah, it's a good time for them to head back to the shop as Doris is going to clear out a couple of these wards around Baron.
Yeah, just to turn the gold total into effective gold total. Stuff that will be turned into items, converted into damage and stats that it will be able to use. I will just play it a little bit slower. So 2 Trinity Forces picked up, the Rabadon's Death Cap, the Fiends and Holy Grail in the mid lane by Take Fun. So definitely adding to their roster in terms of items. But also Lulu is actually not too far behind, basically only a Doran's Ring at this stage.
Which, as you said, at this stage, not a great deal. But yeah, that's a big CS disparity between the two, and it's a big gold disparity as well. I'm wondering where that is. It's the fact that Oriana's holding 1,800. That would be why. I was thinking, how do you have that? I was going to say, how do you have that much difference? But we are going to take a little bit of a replay here. I believe on this earlier fight that we had, but that
actually looks pretty similar to right now.
That's pretty live.
That is. It's a replay of live.
There's a dragon going down, so there we go.
Oh, but Kuban has found Vardags, but that is the strength of the Black Shield, meaning that he will be safe. Braum hops on over to Kuban, gets stand behind me, and he does carry on through. We'll be clearing out these wards. So Livic also has the Oracle's effect on his upgraded sweeping lens, and will be going through the Baron area to try and mop that up. Kuban takes a Dark Binding. They're very strong abilities to catch people out in this stage.
They've got to be careful here. Probably are pushed up in mid lane. If they get caught here, this could be dangerous.
And the ultimate just knocks Vardags left and right, gets the ultimate, gets the shockwave, and gets the kill.
That was just the wrong part of town to be in. That's, you were pushed up, not that many wards, to be honest. When you look at the map vision, yeah, that's not the kind of map vision that you want to be pushing mid with. Because that's hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, that was a one-way ticket to 1-2-0 town for Vardags. Baron now being taken out by the team of Reason Gaming, and it doesn't look like they're able to contest it, really. Pickus is just tanking up for Kuban, who is just unleashing so much pain, and they pick up the Baron with basically no contest. Now we have to see Team Property just not get caught from here, because that would just be losing everything.
I was going to say, what is Nyx doing here? They forced Doris to come forward to pillar out Libic. Takes a Dark Binding as well. Just all the CC being used there to keep Nyx alive, but that was a risky play, and we haven't seen a lot out of Property. This is their first game of the tournament, actually, here in the main competition here at DreamHack. They did, of course, compete in the BYOC tournament, but you know, maybe a little bit of on-stage nerves with that pushing out of the middle lane.
And as you said, this is their first game on stage. They have another 2 to go. So not only will they be warmed up, they'll be game back-to-back. So hopefully they can redeem themselves. We'll be facing the next team, followed by Ninjas in Pajamas at the very end of the day. That may be one of their bigger challenges. Vardags has been cut out in the mid lane. Winter's Bite as well chimes in and gets the assist. Kuban picks up yet another kill, just adding the heads onto his belt. 9-2 and 3.
Again, Vardags had side bush vision there in mid, but there's none of those mid lane wards, which typically we actually are seeing more and more. You see teams placing a ward into the lane part of their opponent's half of the map in the mid. And it gives you good vision of who's coming down, and they just haven't been getting them. There's no wards out, they're being taken away. And look at the itemization onto Reason. They've got a couple of Banshee shells, 3 in fact, and they're going to go in.
And Kubon is very aggressive, gets the double blade surge to get into the back line. Doris is now tanking up, but he's not really tanky at all for basically who is the tankiest member on your team. And basically, with a whimper, they just have to give up that tower. Oh my god, the damage from Take Fun obliterates Vardags. Can he get the next kill? Doesn't really matter because the rest of the team is here. Making sure Xhaka just stays in place, gets knocked about. 2 kills, the double kill in fact goes to Take Fun.
Reason pretty much are going to close this game out from here. You see Nyx go in, but Kikis is so tanky right now, and they are going to fall. It's going to be a surrender vote coming out from Property, and Reason will pick up that first win. In a bit of a more comfortable situation. They now aren't out of it as such. They took down Alternate, so they were at